Hola, and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including DuckTales, which we'll be talking about today. I'm your host, Alex Bonilla, and today I'm joined by Michelle Anderer.
Hello.
And Steve Zeck.
Hello.
And today, in particular, we'll be breaking down the latest episode of DuckTales, The Impossible Summit of Mount Neverrest. Now, if you're interested in catching up on our previous discussion of DuckTales or any other animated programming, you can find more about this podcast at overlyanimated.com. You can subscribe to us on iTunes at overlyanimated.com/iTunes, or you can search for Overly Animated on your preferred podcatcher. Wherever you listen to us, we appreciate any ratings or reviews that you could leave us. But yeah, we'll be diving right into the latest episode of DuckTales, which aired earlier in the beginning of December. It seemed to be held off as a bit of a holiday special, tied in with a couple of winter-themed Star vs. the Forces of Evil episodes as well. So we have this lone episode to talk about for the remainder of the year. Let's go with just general impressions first of what you thought of this episode of the ducks climbing a mountain. Let's go to you, Michelle, first, since you weren't on the last podcast. So maybe you can also give a little bit on how it compares to how the show has been going so far.
I would say this was a pretty good, nice, fine episode. I thought there were some strong moments and some kind of okay moments, but overall, I thought it was pretty good. Definitely preferred to some of the previous ones. That I'm kind of happy I wasn't on, because I would have been so mad if I had to talk about the Egyptian one. It's the burrito nonsense was really getting to me. But this one didn't have any of that, so I was really happy. So yeah, I enjoyed this episode quite a bit. It isn't in my top 5, but it isn't in my lower episodes either. So I thought it was pretty solid.
Okay, solid. While there wasn't burrito nonsense, there probably is other nonsense that we need to talk about in this episode. But let's go to you, Steve. What are your general impressions on this episode?
Yeah, it's all right episode. Just a little facto. This is the third episode in production order, so this is really early on. I thought the whole mystery about Scrooge and Santa Claus, I kind of want to know more about that. I thought it was a fun episode. I thought Lotfet just being the big idiot. I might get a little old fast, but I kind of liked him, and I thought he was funnier in this one than maybe in previous episodes when he's just a complete idiot. Because I thought that gag was funny, how he just kept finding these, bumping into people and mistaking it. It reminds me of Mr. Magoo a bit, since he's kind of blind. I thought the whole Dewey Webby plot was a little okay too. I love Webby's outfit. It looks super cute. Mm-hmm. And you compare it to the boys whose outfits are so generic, just red, blue, green. I thought her just had a little more imagination to it.
It had more flair.
Yeah, she's awesome. Once again, she's not center party episode, but she still had a few little scene stealing moments. And of course, the star, Huey finally gets some focus here. Finally, the Huey and Scrooge, I guess they have a little bonding episode. I thought it was obvious, the twist about Scrooge being what's that thing name again?
The Neverrest Ninny.
Yes. He looks exactly like him. We knew that was going to be the reveal.
Oh, and I love Lando how Scrooge is what? He was a backstabbing person, and then Huey's I think the mountain got revenge for you. I'm
yeah. There were some good lines this episode.
Yeah. It's a fine episode. It's not really a holiday episode. It's not really that. It's more of a winter episode, but it was fine.
Okay, so both of you seem to think this is an okay episode.
What do you think, Alex?
I was just really down on this episode.
Oh, really? Is it because of Launchpad? Because because he's literally the first thing in your outline here.
Yeah, well, okay, Launchpad is annoying. The whole adding wormholes at the end of this is like,
That was
what?
I did not see that coming.
The Neverrest Ninny thing was like it was transferred very quickly. Like it tries to play it as a twist, and it's not really a twist at all. It's, like
Well,
we all knew.
It's very obvious.
I still say I like Launchpad. I take this Launchpad over to Launchpad and Terraformia. I'm just saying.
No, let's see. I prefer him in Terraformia because at least there's a bit more of character of like him getting easily distracted but still able to do his work.
Yeah.
Whereas here it's just him being distracted and being useless to the story. So,
Extra bad.
But
if you're gonna do that, do it the way that they did it in the Lucky Gander, where he's distracted, he wanders off in the story, and you don't see him again until like the end of the episode, and he's done some wacky stuff off screen. Like that's fine.
Well,
I don't like.
Yeah.
It's not as funny when it just ends up being not relevant at all.
we all have our own taste. I just love how he casually mentioned he paid with Scrooge's credit card.
Yeah, although that joke has already been done. Like we're already 10 episodes in, we've already.
But to be fair, this
Launchpad
episode
using Scrooge's
takes place
credit
earlier
card
in the
joke.
series, though. To be fair, this takes place earlier, so the Mummy episode is sort of is the one to take place after. So
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about episode order later because I do think that's something that we need to talk about as well.
We should consider it to some extent, but also, yeah, Launchpad is like extra useless in this episode. And even though I didn't personally mind it a lot, it was very much there, and we kept cutting back to it an awful lot. So maybe it's that we also just spent so much more time with him this episode that it became so apparent.
well, I do have good news though, for you guys. We're pretty much all caught up with the production order. The latest episode production order was 110 Terraformia, and pretty much
okay, you seem to want to talk about this a lot. So we'll just get it out of the way.
I'm just saying we're caught up, and any episode that takes place after this takes place after Terraformia. So pretty much in 2018, we're gonna move on. We're done catching up to the skip.
So let's address that. Frank Angones, who is one of the co-writers for the show, earlier in the year when he started noticing that episodes were being aired out of order, he posted on Twitter the order that was meant to be. And it seems that the unannounced Huey episode, which ends up being this one, was supposed to be aired third, right after the pilot and Day Trip of Doom. So this was supposedly a character development episode that we didn't get. And it also turns out the Terror of the Terraformians, which introduces like Lena being a bit more of a dark character. Like that's supposed to be like your finale of this batch of episodes, but instead they stuck it like right in the middle of all of this stuff. So like the order does mess up a little bit in like trying to figure out like how development is working. But I do want to say like this episode feels really weird to end on. Like just holding it back because it's a winter episode. Is, like,
do you think that's the reason?
I would have to imagine because otherwise there's no purpose in leaving this to be aired so late, especially considering that I think this is meant to be Huey's like establishing him as the logical one of the group, like the voice of reason, and they show that in other episodes like Terror of the Terraformians. Like he's also in that one being like, oh, we have to believe in science and things like that. But it seems more of established, whereas here it's. I guess if this was your first exposure, it's like, okay, that's his character, fine. But because we see this so much later, it's like, okay.
Yeah, I have a real question for you guys. What do you think are the main character differences between Red Shirt and Green Shirt? Because I'm not sure that they're that separate for me.
Really?
What are their differences? Between Red Shirt and Green Shirt.
Really, I disagree. I find more hard to tell differences between Blue Shirt and Green Shirt.
No, Blue Shirt's the rebel. He's like the cool one who doesn't think things through and like kind of just like wants to go with the action. I get him, but the other two seem a little more similar to me.
Oh, okay. Well, very different parents. The green one is very simply what I characterize, or Louis. He's the lazy one. He's the one who just
yes, he is the lazy one.
He's the one,
and also he seems to be a lot more cynical in things.
Yeah.
Whereas Huey is a bit more clinical and like straightforward.
Yeah.
Like in that sense, there's a slight difference, but I can see where the confusion comes.
I thought they were both like kind of the smart one who read a lot and was kind of a nerd, so I got very confused. Except one of them cares about like essentially what is the name of the Junior Woodchucks? Yes, Junior Woodchucks, and one of them doesn't.
Yeah, it's an obvious this version. Obviously, a reference to the journal in Gravity Falls, an homage to it.
Mm-hmm. But I do agree with Michelle that like it gets even if this was aired in the right order, I still think that they haven't done quite enough to differentiate the characters. They're making their efforts, but because they share certain character traits, it's still a little hard at times.
So like from what you guys have said, I gather. Okay, so Green Shirt, he's like lazier, and what else? What does he do?
He'll just like try really hard to find a way to do something for very little to do.
Okay, so like little effort, and Red Shirt's like more thoughtful and committed to like what's right in science.
He has the book, the science. The blue one is a little more adventurous.
Yeah,
goes and a little more of goes against the rules a little bit more. I think the difference to Huey and Dewey is that Huey is one who's a little more afraid of getting in trouble. Dewey, I don't think he really cares that much about that, about getting in trouble with authority or anything. I think Huey's the one who most respects authority figures.
Is Huey Red Shirt?
Yes.
Yeah, then I'd agree with that. He seems like it.
Uh-huh. And also, well, while we're talking, we also have Dewey here, who's in the subplot, Blue Shirt. You know him. Yeah. But like in the first episodes, like the pilot and all, like he's like the very stubborn, headstrong one. And like here he's kind of off to the side, like I don't really care. I'm just climbing up here because I want to sled.
Yeah.
It's also still a little iffy on like what they're trying to do with him too. But maybe it's just that we're not following as closely as we should. But I think that of the characters, like at least to me, Scrooge and Webby, like they're very strong and defined.
Oh, definitely.
The nephews are a bit still blend for now.
I will say I'm glad that at this point in the show, Webby's kind of like hung out with all three of them at some point in the B plot. Like they're passing around that kind of like they all do different things, and it's not like one is way more in the focus than the other ones. And I appreciate that. I was a little concerned in the early goings to the show, but like they've all kind of had a moment to shine now. So I think that's good. Rounds out the cast.
I think though this one clearly with Webby, you see this is definitely more earlier in this series.
She barely does anything. It has like no lines. I was like, oh, that's weird. Is it because of the people in charge didn't care about Webby? But if it was literally supposed to be the third episode, that makes a lot more sense.
Oh, but here I see Webby like she's still trying to be like this fish out of water, learning new experiences. Mm-hmm. But I see in later episode like Production or Terra Firmia. Well, that's still there. It's less in your face than episodes that you think you're getting a little more accustomed to being part of the outside world.
Also, I enjoyed that in the Webby episodes with Lena, they focus a lot more on her social awkwardness. Yeah. Whereas here, like the issue mainly is just like sort of wanting to sled, kind of falling into peer pressure of no, let's keep going higher, let's go higher. But like at least you're showing off a different side of her personality than just I don't know how to talk to people.
Yeah.
And you know, this scene Webby having these episodes with the nephews, it kind of sets up perfectly that Lena introduction episode. What's the name of the episode? The Beagle Birthday Bash, when Lena kind of tells Webby, "Let's ditch him," and you kind of see, and she stands up for them, and you kind of see why with these like bonding episodes early in the series.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Yeah, that's true. Uh-huh. So we have the nephews. We've talked about Webby. Scrooge in this episode. I think he's still very that's pretty much fits. He's kind of a stubborn dude, still interested in adventure. Money doesn't really seem to be something that matters to him, at least in this incarnation. Mm-hmm. But what were your impressions of Scrooge in this episode? Like, was it boring? Was it interesting to watch, Michelle?
I mean, he was consistent, I guess. I'm still kind of like confused about how like his partner like was like, oh, you're not gonna let go of your like big heavy stuff. I'll just murder you then, and then he dies, and then Scrooge doesn't care. I don't know what kind of like moral compass I am supposed to be having about that whole event transpiring. But I mean, I think it sort of is a Scrooge learning episode because he gives up his goal, and that's probably a big deal for him because he's so like, firm and like kind of like bullheaded about going forward and like doing stuff. So I guess it was like a learning moment for him. But I don't know. I thought it was fine. I love hearing him talk.
Agreed.
Yeah. And when we're talking about his history with Santa Claus, I was like disappointed that we didn't get a bah humbug. We should have got like Santa, bah humbug. He knows what he did or something. Bah humbug because he's Scrooge. And the character is based on Ebenezer Scrooge. If you ever saw some early Disney specials, he played him in a Disney cartoon.
Right.
Yeah.
I think you put a lot more thought into this line than the show. Like,
I did not.
It opens as a throwaway gag. But also the weird thing is, like, I can believe it. Like, Scrooge has met Santa at some point. Yeah, and I do want to highlight the scene where they actually find the guy's skeleton in the cave.
Yeah, where is he right cursing Scrooge? Like, he tried to kill him. Like, why is he mad at him? Because he paid him to go up there at all? I don't understand.
And
I mean, maybe he manipulated Scrooge into carrying those supplies, and he actually needed them.
It's hard to like. Because it's hard to be mad at Scrooge when you find out the guy was actually, like, the worst. But then it's like, but he's still dead. And why is he mad at you and wrote your name on the cave wall?
It may have been the worst.
Questions.
But I guess you could say he was right, though. Scrooge maybe needed to let go of some of the supplies. But, I've noticed, though, Disney has been really, really dark of late. Because here, between this and Star, we've had a whole bunch of dead skeleton bodies on these Disney shows.
Must be a trend.
Yeah.
Also, it's around Halloween, so you're still allowed to do that.
Also, he was wearing the shirt from the tourist thing, which wouldn't have existed, like, however long he's been there. When Scrooge said it was after he made his first million, that had to have been forever ago. How did that shirt not go out of style?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love how Huey said, no one has said what's the thing in 75 years.
Yeah.
I said that term. I forget what it was.
Nobody used the word ninny in 75 years.
Which is a very valid point, honestly.
Yeah. And I particularly like the delivery of now he's the second farthest.
He's
like just taking one step.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I thought that was the most effective scene of the episode. Just like him being very, very dark about it.
Yeah.
He was a backstacking braggart who got me killed. Something along like that. But so we have that. I guess we've already talked about Launchpad as the B plot here. He believes he has ice fever. Kind of a very similar plot to Terra Firmians, where it's just like, oh, everybody might be mole people. And
but he had so many good lines in Terra Firmians. Like they actually made me laugh a lot. Whereas here, I think there were like two I thought were genuinely funny. A lot of them was just like, wow, he's really dumb.
In a way, this is sort of, like I said, this is similar to Terra Firmian, but also I think part aspect of this plot also is similar to that last episode we did, the Egypt one, because it had sort of a con man. Same thing here, like trying to con Launchpad. He's very similar characters. You know the guy's name, the fake pharaoh, and this.
But he gets tricked very easily by people, and that seems to be his main way of getting into problems.
But I just think though the part though I just thought funniest though is really not Launchpad himself. It's just how Louis helps get back at him and just like pulls his own con job. I thought that was kind of funny. How look at all this junk you sold him and stuff. I thought that was kind of good.
I agree there. Like that was okay. Like tying in Louis. I like how Louis at the beginning is like, nope, I'm not alive in this.
He took himself out of the plot. He took himself. Funny how Scrooge just assumed Launchpad just joined Louis and just, ditched him.
Yeah, I will say that since it's December, I'm very cold, so seeing a lot of hot springs made me very jealous.
I was kind of bitter about the hot springs too. I wanted to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so let's hear of Launchpad lines, since that's pretty much what he's in the episode for a comic relief.
Let's be real.
Okay.
The two that stood out to me, I don't know if they're the same as you, Michelle, but when he's walking through the hot spring, he bumps into a hairy pig.
Oh,
a yeti!
That was one of them. It was actually really funny. He was like accidentally touching his chest. It's amazing.
And then
Yeti!
and then later he bumps into Louis and soaking the wetness in my sweat.
That was my other one. Just like his delivery on it's like so good and so dumb. Like I imagine that voice actor just had a lot of fun voicing Launchpad because he's just like really dumb.
I love the line where he says, "Take me to the heavens," or something like. He tells Louis, "Take me to the heavens of the sun," or
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, go over the top.
I see a light.
Embrace, or something.
The blanket one with the sweat, that was my favorite line of the episode, hands down. It's just so gross and amazing.
Yeah, and plus he's like the biggest one, so he would sweat the most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any other big things out of this episode that I'm missing here?
Oh, how about how we haven't seen much of Donald of late, or even Mrs. Beakley either.
Yeah, that's true. We haven't seen them in forever.
Yeah, and I know we were promised to see more of Donald in the old show, which I guess is true because the old show had very little of Donald. But I want to see more Donald, his presence, like him in contributing. Maybe he's the voice actor who Donald is probably very busy, so you only have like so many episodes you can get him for. But try to give me more.
Well, I do think he's meant to be a side character, and same with Mrs. Beakley.
Yeah.
And so we saw Donald in the Lucky Gander. We covered that in our last podcast, and I think he did very well there. But I also think
he didn't talk as much. That's part of why he did better. Though. That's the thing with Donald. I want to see more of him, but part of me is like afraid to see more of him and not be able to understand him still.
I kind of wonder
that's a fair worry. Although I actually think he talked a lot and like still did very well.
Did he? I just didn't notice that episode, so I thought he didn't talk very much. If that's true, maybe he's like getting a better handle on the enunciation.
I kind of want to see a Donald Launchpad plot, like them do something together because they're both such idiots.
God, that'd be such a train wreck. It could be good or it could be really, really bad.
Maybe they go on a double date or something. Maybe like, yeah, we kind of funny.
Oh, come on. You're already inserting shipping in here.
Or maybe they go on a date together. I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, like this does seem to be a very focused on our main cast sort of episode, and it makes sense that this would have been earlier if you want to establish the chemistry. But airing it this late is like while we're having actual plot stuff be introduced, like it feels kind of weird and kind of fillery, but it would have made sense in the position that it was originally supposed to be.
Yeah.
But. Now, I guess just going through like other little details here. The episode opens with them thinking that Mount Neverrest is going to be like an untamed place, and it turns out there's a town there already. It's turned into a tourist place. Webby goes churros.
Yeah, that's very Gravity Falls accent.
Is churros very Gravity Falls?
No, I'm talking about
just
the
like
premise of how something like seemingly that's going to be deserted turns into a tourist place.
Yeah, that seems to be a common thing, but yeah, I like churros, so I enjoyed that. Let's see here. Also, Huey mentioned something about the maps being inaccurate since he's like studying to be a cartographer, I think it is.
Yeah. He's like, Mount Go wouldn't be native to this region. Why is the sun wearing sunglasses? To protect it from a bigger sun?
That's a funny line.
Amazing. Yeah, that was a really good line.
Yeah, I do like the joke that suns always wear glasses for some reason. Like, what would they be protecting their eyes from?
Yeah, that's a song I've mentioned to a lot of meta cartoons, like not meta, lots like very out there cartoons with the sun wearing sunglasses. And also the Raisin Brand logo, too. He's like...
We also have Webby has life goals. One of them is sledding.
What were the other two? I forgot to freeze frame.
The other two were pilot an airplane. That's within her means.
Definitely.
Oh.
And high-fiving a brontosaurus.
Oh. Okay.
Oh my god, this might be a reference to the old show because spoiler for the old show, but yeah, there's an episode, a couple episodes when they meet dinosaurs.
Did they go back in time, or did?
Yeah, that too.
I mean, Scrooge is rich enough to have a time machine.
There's one episode in the first season when they kind of just go to a place that has like caveman dinosaurs, like Jurassic Park, and then in the second season they do actually go back in time. But yeah,
okay.
And pilot a plane. That sounds like a pretty cool, maybe a hint of a Webby Launchpad episode.
Yeah, that would be neat.
Yeah, I'd be up for that.
Like, hey, you know what? Launchpad is a pilot. Maybe let him fly planes more.
Well, you always see like a plane at the beginning of whatever the destination of the episode's going to be, and they just like don't ever show them really on it, just getting off of it.
Yeah, so I'd like a little bit more of him actually doing his job. Is that too much to ask? We already talked about Louis. He's like, I can't wait to find the treasure. There's no treasure. I'm out. Have fun.
Him piecing out felt very relatable, though. That hot cocoa looked very inviting down there.
Yeah.
And the hot cocoa gets brought up again because they reach something called point of no return. It's certain death or cocoa.
How about I just love how excited Webby was. Like, he's ready to do the skiing thing, and Dewey keeps stopping her because it's not the perfect spot.
Yeah. So we have Webby being very, very eager to do new things. So that's solid with her character.
And like I said, super cute too.
Yeah, we get the recurring gag of Bunny Rock.
I kind of like Bunny Rock. I think it's kind of great.
Do you like the Bunny Rock with the snow covered or in pure?
Both sides are good. It even gets to kind of sled at the end. It has a full adventure all on its own.
I wonder if they get to take Bunny Rock home.
I hope so.
But Bunny Rock is our new favorite character.
Yay! Who are we gonna ship it with?
Oh no!
The plane.
Give him with Launchpad. They're both about similar intelligence.
Aww. I think Bunny Rock could do better.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. Then we have Huey mentioning when they find the cave. Scrooge finds the cave, and Huey's like, "Wait, this area's uncharted. How did you know the cave was here?" And I think that's where it becomes super obvious that Scrooge is the one who tried climbing this before. Let's see. We've already talked about the sequence in the cave. They find out that Scrooge has this grudge. Then they find out that there are wormholes. I know magic was introduced in the first episode, and we've kind of gone back and forth on it. But how do you feel just about inserting wormholes into a mountain for no reason? Mind you, this is not explained at all.
I mean, it makes sense that no one could get to the top because they couldn't, because of the wormholes. Like, that was what confused me. I'm like, if there's this big tourist attraction, how could they not have a topography map of the mountain already? They're literally at the base of it, but wormholes make sense somehow in a wacky way. So I'm kind of okay with it. I'm kind of okay with the wormholes being a thing. Because, they address it being weird early on, and they come back to it, a bunch of times, so it's not really a surprise. It's just kind of, not a reveal anyone would expect. But I'm kind of okay with it, honestly.
I agree with Michelle. It definitely made it make sense. So I don't have a problem with it like some other people do.
But tell us logically why this is very frustrating as a thing that exists, Alex.
Well, it's just that like I'm saying, magic has been introduced in this, but weird sciencey stuff,
weird
not
sciencey
really.
Stuff. Here it is.
Yeah, that part's new, and the fact that it's not explained, it's just pulled out of nowhere. Okay, this is the reason. Deal with it. It just feels like a very very convoluted. I guess in the wacky idea of the show, like it works as a function to keep people from getting to the mountain, but it felt too out of nowhere even for me, like, even watching this show. But I don't mind if you enjoy it. It's just it felt very off for me.
How
by
you
making
feel
that
about the
the sequence.
wormholes is how I feel about when they go to the like Atlantis city and it's upside down and the jewels on the ceiling, but if it wasn't upside down it'd be on the floor, and so how could nobody get to it kind of thing. Like there are just some plot points the show just like does not want you to think about, and they kind of are glaring and obvious and they might bother you a lot, but the show is just like it's not something they're really going to get into. So I understand on that level the frustration.
Yeah, you make a good point comparing to Atlantis.
It doesn't make any sense.
But since that was the pilot episode, right? I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. But like after seeing more episodes and figuring out that's not really a thing that comes up that often, so I think that's what makes it a little bit more jarring.
Maybe this if this is episode C, maybe it's one of the things they gracefully phase out as the show continues, which I would think is a good move.
Yeah,
that's a possibility. We end up figuring out that there are portals on this mountain. Dewey and Webby begin to skip across different portals, trying to find a way to get their sled. So I missed this. How did the sled get up on top of the mountain?
That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense because they jump through the same portal that Scrooge does, same one, and theirs takes them like halfway up, and his takes him like almost all the way up. So that also is like, I don't know. Doesn't make sense.
Because it does. It just does. That's the explanation.
Unless they originally got up there and then fell off to the other ledge and then had to find a way back. That makes you implicitly have to like make inferences. It doesn't, So I
don't want to think this much about physics.
If that happened, that means Dewey and Webby got the furthest there, and
first.
Yeah, I mean, oh my God, I know Scrooge can live that down. Like,
but yeah, we do have this final showdown of sorts between Scrooge and Huey. Huey's like, sometimes the bravest thing an explorer can do is walk away, and Scrooge eventually has to cede once he realizes that there's about to be an avalanche because of him trying over and over again to get to the top. And they sled down the mountain. Eventually they land on Bunny Rock, and they go all the way down.
Bunny Rock helps him out. Good job.
And the episode ends with a shot of Huey throwing his map, and and the wind blows it all the way to the top of the mountain. The end.
Yeah.
That was very what's the word? It's like the bow tie on top of a present. Like it's very on the nose of an ending.
Yeah, one thing that bugged me about that was he probably had a lot of useful information about where the portals were or the wormholes on that map that he drew, because he was like making notes the whole time. So that could have been really useful for people because it's probably the most charted, accurate map of that region. So why did he just give it up? That made me sad.
Maybe the mountain doesn't want anybody to climb it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Okay, sure.
Oh yeah, that reminds me of a lot of stuff like that. That just I'm an object, you just cannot conquer it.
Yeah, and it seemed they were kind of going for that, but not really. Like, it's focusing more on just Scrooge being stubborn and personal grudges than anything to do with actual nature. So, but so that's the Impossible Summit of Mount Neverrest. So with the knowledge that this is meant to be an earlier episode, I do think it's good to compare this to some of the more recent episodes, like Terror of the Terra Firmians, The Living Mummies of Tothra. Like, do you think that the show is improving, Michelle, or are we still in like a holding pattern of this is okay to good?
The Living Mummies of Tothra is the low point of the season so far for me. So I have like more criticisms of that one than any episode so far. I'd say as a whole they're improving. That one just really gets on my nerves. And I mean, I like this one better than that one. I'll say that at least. It's just the burrito nonsense is so dumb. And it kept coming back. And then they like fold up the mummy in a burrito. It's just, oh my god, why? Why?
Okay.
Yeah.
And Steve, how would you compare this episode to some of the more recent ones that we've been watching lately?
Well, I think it's actually better than the Mummy episode, but it's definitely not really close to on par of Terra Firma.
Yeah.
Which is technically production order. It's like the latest episode, so the show really and that left on a cliffhanger. I'm so interested in seeing more of. So I guess the show has improved a bit. I do have a hot take.
Yes,
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Do you have a hot take theory? I just thought of while recording this podcast. Tell me what you think of this. But since we have like Magica, sorceress, is there a chance maybe secretly that Stella Duck has some sorcerer powers, knows some magic?
Why would they be related things?
No, not related. I'm just saying, does he have magical powers? You don't have to be related to maybe have that.
Yeah, but why? Why? Nobody else does.
Combine those plots, he's going to help defeat Magica.
I guess that's possible.
I enjoy your attempt to try tying in the
Everything,
two most interesting plot lines of the show.
Well, we get back.
But yeah, that does bring us to a discussion like what are the things we're most looking forward to. So we've already mentioned Della Duck. We have Magica and Lena, bringing them back. Mm-hmm. Any other? Are we looking forward to seeing anything else in particular, like with the nephews or with Scrooge? At least for me personally, I do want to see more Scrooge and Donald. Like I'd like to see their interactions a little bit more.
I'm interested to see what's going on with that gyro plot and that robot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've seen the original show and I know what it's references to, so I'm super excited.
Yeah, Gyro, I almost forgot entirely about him. But yes, he exists somewhere in here.
Yeah, I guess he'll come back maybe eventually. I also feel like there's a lot of villains they have planned to show us that they haven't done yet that were from the original series. So I'm curious to see more cool villains. I'd like some more lady villains. That'd be nice. Maybe that's like on my wish list.
Yeah, because we introduced Magica very recently, but we do need to we do have Margot Martindale as Mob Beagle, but
that's like half the villains. Villains we have right now are female. I think because we got all the ones are freaking Glongold and other billionaire guy. What's his name? And other than that and other stuff, I don't really consider villains. Those are just one-off stuff. And they're not part of the original show, so who knows?
But yeah, we probably do need to expand our serious villains. Although we have the standard show balance of goofy villain and serious villain, because Glomgold being goofy and Magica seeming to be the serious one.
And that's like very funny because Magica on the old show can be serious, but sometimes he's as goofy as anybody else, and Glomgold could be as serious as anybody else in the original series. So who knows?
But so far, we haven't gotten
we'll see how
the other side.
The old Glongo was a very menacing character, so who knows? We have yet to see that side of him. We might see another side of him that we haven't seen yet that he might surprise you.
Yeah. So there's definitely still things to look out for in DuckTales. And last time I said we were saying goodbye for 2017, but due to this December episode, I'm a little scared to say that again.
Well, it's time for real.
But maybe it's for real.
Who knows?
But in any case, the next time that new DuckTales episodes come on, we'll be here to talk about them again. And if you're interested in our podcast, you can find out all about us at overlyanimated.com. If you want to talk to us about DuckTales or any of the other shows we cover, you can chat with us at overlyanimated.com/Discord, so you can keep up to date on all the news around the shows that we cover. You can also support us financially. We would appreciate that very much via Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. We do want to give thanks to all of our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Otaku Guy 01. And thanks as always to our Patreon executive producers, John, Ryan, Steve, Andy, and Hugh. You can other podcasts that you might be interested in. Disney XD aired DuckTales alongside Star vs. the Forces of Evil, and we recently had a podcast on those episodes as well. If you want to look those up, soon we'll be talking Adventure Time.
We also got an almost 2-hour Little Witch Academia podcast, our finale. So
yes, Steve was on that. So definitely a lot of eager discussion there. And we just covered a lot of stuff here, and we're always glad to be able to talk about it, and we're glad that people are listening to us. So thank you all very much for that.
Thanks, guys.
Any final thoughts here on DuckTales before we sign off?
It's beautifully to look at, beautifully animated. How the wintry stuff when we saw the big widescreen. I thought it was beautiful to look at. Yeah. So now I'm just excited to get back to the plots here, the main plot.
Yeah, I want more plot. That'd be nice.
I want to see more about Della and see more of Lena and Magica and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think the motto of Overly Animated is I can't wait for the plot.
Oh yeah, like we'll podcast you and Dylan. You guys did with Dylan, Craig of the Creek, and Dylan's like, "Where's the plot?"
But that's different. Yeah. That show's great without a plot.
I know.
And some would argue this show is great without a plot too.
That's true. It depends on the episode.
Yeah. So thank you very, very much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Adios.
Bye.
Bye.